I'm Tiffany Sauder, entrepreneur, wife, mom to 4 girls, and a woman figuring it out just like you. If you're tired of living a life of have to and finally ready to build a life of want to, then you're in the right place. Come on, let's go build your life of and. Do I have so many accessories on today?
I didn't think that when
Earrings,
I first walked
necklace,
in.
bracelet, and
2
a belt.
necklaces.
Feels 2 necklaces. It feels like too much. I'm like,
Stand up and let's see.
Coco Chanel. Coco Chanel. Like, take something off. I feel like a lot of things.
Maybe.
I know.
Maybe the bracelets, actually, because you already have the cuff sleeves and it's
too much. It's too much, friends.
too much.
Too many things. I really was like Coco Chanel. Doesn't she say take one thing off before you leave the house?
I've heard that. I don't know if it's her that says it, but
I think
we'll
it's
say
true.
it's her.
But I have too many things on. I think I was trying to overcompensate for the fact that I basically have vacation pants on.
Oh. I didn't even notice the pants. So there you go. It's working.
Yes. So it's a decoy. I was just like feeling it's a rainy morning and JR has been gone. This is day 7. And so I feel like I was just like kind of wanting to stay in my robe. So I started with the pants and they're very soft and a little big. And I was like, these are really pants you wear to the pool, I think.
Oh.
But we wore them to the podcast today. So anyway, so I over accessorized.
Yeah, I haven't checked my hair since I walked through the rain with 2 kids into the doctor and back out, still pouring.
But you have a jacket on, so you must be in it. Must be a work day.
A little damp.
must be a work day. So, okay, well, we're all doing our best.
Yes.
That's what we're doing.
We're here.
So producer Sam's back on the mic.
Yes. Summer Sanity series.
Yeah, so this is the, 3rd or 4th episode. And this one, if you have teenagers at home, or I would say just like kids that are in that early independence stage, I guess, what is Ainsley, 12? What is she?
Question for you.
Oh, my word. What year is this? You guys so weird. What?
2025 is the year.
Yeah, and she was born in 11. So she'll be 14 this year. And so I would say in that stage, and Ivy's not almost 10. And so some of these things, it's not quite 10, but if you have teenagers, let's just say this simply. If you have teenagers or kind of older preteens that just tend to feel like they're a little older than their age, then this is definitely an episode for you to listen to as you're preparing for summer and really trying to get ahead of the war of how do you keep them off their phones. We've got some things to talk about, things we've done in our house, some things I'm trying this summer. Some things I've observed in my own teens as we're getting ready for, summer's coming. Here we go.
Yeah. And if you have younger kids, the last episode was all about like activities for younger kids throughout the summer. So you can go back and check out that one. Teens aren't your vibe.
Are teens anybody's vibe? No, I love teens, actually. We're having a big party at our house on Sunday with 20 teenagers, which will be so fun. And then 2 weeks later, we'll have everybody for a last day of school party, which will be so fun. So love to entertain. We also created a summer sanity toolbox, like an easy PDF to kind of walk you through some of the things we'll talk about today. But if you're trying to figure out how do we get a head start, I did a talk yesterday, and you took pictures of me so that we can put it on the gram.
It's vital that I was there.
We did a talk yesterday to a corporate partner of ours, really all about how to prepare well for summer. And I'm always reminded about how important it is if we do not want to stay in a reactive state, which really becomes our only strategy when we don't have a plan. If we don't want to be the linchpin for absolutely every piece of decision making in our family, where we're like, oh my word, literally nothing happens around here unless I do it. If we don't want that to happen, and if you don't want to get stuck in same day solving, where 20% of your attention is on your text messages all day long because your teenagers are blowing you up, or your kids are because they don't know who's going to take them or who's going to pick them up or what to eat or what to do, and they're bored. And like, that is such a capacity suck. It's one of my least favorite things on planet Earth. If you want to avoid all of those things, long preamble, then just click on the link in the show notes to this Summer Sanity Toolbox, because we'd love to share it with you. We did it yesterday. It was like really well received. It was exciting.
Yeah. It's like easy print off things to hang on your fridge and keep you like priorities, calendar top of mind. So
yeah, perfect.
Great.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay. I have no way of knowing what time it is, which makes me nervous because
I have a watch.
You do? Okay.
every once in a while I'll just blurt out the time.
But you know what I mean? Can you kind of help me know
Yes.
if it's been like how long? Because I have a tendency to not be able to perceive my own pace. So, okay, we're going to talk about teenagers, middle school and high schoolers specifically, because that's really what I have in my own household. And I think there's some things to remember first before we just get into like toolbox mode. One is to remember that these people who live with us are not fully formed humans. And they sometimes try to convince us that they are fully formed humans because they're very persistent. You know, they're smart kids. They're super capable, but their brains are still developing and their identities are still being formed. And so our jobs as parents still exist in their world to put some boundaries in place and to help facilitate their learning. And I think summer is such an important time for us to do just that, facilitate their learning in ways and development and maturity in ways that school does not. We have like 8 weeks, which is a very short time, but we have more of their time and attention inside of our household. So I think that's important to remember. I have to remind myself, my 16-year-old in particular, actually both my girls, they're so capable. And I have to remind myself they are not fully formed humans. And I have to make sure that I'm still fully present. So I wrote down kind of 4 reminders for all of us of like, who are these beings? Like, let's look at them as like kind of in their developmental stage. Take the name of our kid away and just like, what are teenagers? One is they're developing their independence. And that is a good thing. Actually, we want them to be able to have agency over their choices. We want them to have discernment. We want them to be able to make decisions when they're tired, when they're well rested, when they're under resourced, when they're over, like we want that independence actually to take place. And so reminding of ourselves of that going into a season where there's going to be a lot of decision making, like what time am I going to be home and when am I leaving and can I take the car and all the things. Like not every time that they're practicing their independence are we going to love that moment as a parent. But I think reminding myself, I do want them to be independent and I do want them to be able to make decisions and choices. And to the extent that I can create frameworks to allow that decision making, we are probably going to have a more peaceful relationship than if I'm like dictating everything, which can be my tendency sometimes because I'm a very like high D, high quick start, high control personality. So that's one. Our teenagers are developing their independence. That is a good thing. And when we can give them options and choice, let's do it. I remember like as a, with your little kids, it's like, hey, would you like to sit on the blue circle or the red circle? Yeah. Gave them choice, but like I'm telling you, you need to sit down. And like, oh, I want to sit on the blue circle. And we forget that same thing with our teenagers. Like, hey, you can be home at 11 or 11:30. Which one would you like to be home by? It's like, it's up. You can pick that or something like that. But when we can give them an options and choice, let's do it. And I think reminding ourselves that they're not going to make perfect choices and we didn't either.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think telling them that too.
Yeah.
Like
what do you mean?
Like be honest about like, you didn't always make the best choices or you made mistakes, because sometimes I feel like they're like, well, my mom must have just been perfect, because like she's so hard on me. But it's like, no, actually,
Were you a good kid though?
Yes, I was a good kid, but I still.
Kid. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but.
I was a good kid. I was a good kid, but I also wasn't.
Yeah.
Both.
A little bit of both.
I feel like you were a good kid though.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were some choices made.
That maybe. And I think some of that is healthy. I really do.
Yeah.
Like getting yourself in a situation where you're like, oh crap.
Right. Yeah. And trying to figure it out.
This is a 2.
Yes.
Why am I here? I remember some of those. You're like, oh geez, this got weird.
Yeah. Why did I do that?
And we didn't have phones. So
I know.
Okay. That's number 1. Independence. Second one is social development. In this season, and I remember I had Michelle Gams, that parenting coach, on a couple of times, I don't know, like a year and a half ago. And she talked about there's a season in your life where your friends become more important into your life and world than your family does. Like their microphone into who you're becoming and their influence in your life is just getting greater and greater. And that is for sure these teenage years where their peer relationships are important and they may prioritize those over family. And I think if we're not careful, you can take that personally. Like, why do you want to be with me? I've raised you for 16 years and I pay for everything you have. I seriously don't want to be with me right now. So I think, again, reminding ourselves that's normal, super normal. And I was just talking about a couple of big parties we're having at our house, parties, like, whatever. But I think I'm really being intentional right now in the season of teenagers. And Brian Kavicki talked about this a couple episodes ago too. Of how do I make a way for my kids to be with their friends and also be with them in that experience? Because my kids are like, so I'm not in the middle of it, but sometimes I want to be. Like, hey guys, I'll be the kickball pitcher. But how do we figure out how those friendships can be part of our family too, instead of the kids feeling like they have to choose between being with their friends or being with their family? So I find as my kids get older, more often it's like, hey, I'd love to bring my friend Sophia. I don't know if she ever listens to this, but she comes with us often. It's so fun to have her. She fits right in. We've got just like certain of the girls as friends that just come with them sometimes because it's fun for my girls to have their friends, and I want to integrate those relationships into our family. So things to be aware of. Third one is just executive function. Teens are still very much developing their ability to plan, to time manage, to make decisions, like literally moving time and resources around in a way that has order and priority and thoughtfulness and is not just like random. And without the structure of school, I think it feels like a wide open road to them. And so I think we also have to work with them and sort of develop those executive functions with them. I think summer is an awesome time to do that, but also create some infrastructure for them to work within and not be mad at them when it's like, what do you mean you don't know what to do? Like they lay on their beds and play on their phones all day long, not to piss you off, actually, I don't think. I think it's because sometimes they literally don't have the executive function to think about what to do instead.
Yeah.
And the internet has programmed itself very well to take our attention. And so, again, reminding myself, hey, this executive function thing is still developing. When you make a totally nerdball decision or lose track of time or decide to like refold all your underwear 4 minutes before we're leaving or something just like so stupid, then I got to remind myself this is still forming, and summer is an amazing time to practice that together.
Yeah. I think their phones feel like a sense of connection too. It's like going back to the friend thing. It feels like they're connected to their friends, even if they're not.
Yes. This is a little bit of an aside, but my mom, we were with her over Mother's Day weekend, and she was asking me, again, what I felt like some of those critical parenting decisions I've made. We do not let our kids have social media until 16. And I think that is one of the most critical parenting decisions that we've made. So some of you may be listening and say you don't have that choice anymore because they're younger than that and they already have it. But that, I think their phones are a place of connection, but I have found giving it to them kind of, quote, so late, social media, so much of their patterns of engagement have formed with their friends in a way that don't require social media, that I find the vacuum suck of their attention into Instagram, and which is all Aubrey has. She doesn't have TikTok or what's the other one? Snapchat. But I think the vacuum of their attention is less into that stuff because their relationships are formed on other platforms because they had to be.
Yes.
Either in real life or on text or whatever. So the fourth one, just again, some reminders. We talked about their independence is developing. That's a good thing. Their social development, relationship with their peers, their executive function is still developing. And then the fourth one is their emotional regulation. You have to remind yourself, I don't have to meet you at your response interval.
Yeah. All this is like a very toddler too.
Yes.
I feel like it's just the same. It's just like a different level.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same, but different. Yeah. It's like, hey, you can trigger each other in a way that starts to spin and spiral. And I, again, was going back just in my memory bank of Michelle Gamm's parenting coach. She was like, sometimes the only reasonable response that you can do in that setting is to just walk away. And that response is not harmful to a kid. It neutralizes it and it gives you a chance to go think. So if you cannot conjure up your most caring, thoughtful voice in a moment where you're just like mad and, want to do something crazy, it's just to walk away and remind yourself that sometimes that is just the best response, to give everybody a little bit of time, everything a little bit of breathing room, and it gets it to a place where you're not harming the relationship, you're not saying things that you want to take back. And I feel grateful. This is not a huge place in our family, actually. I think the place where I can create some emotional damage for my kids, or if I'm imagining what my teenagers will say in therapy someday, is that I am very positive And we are a head first kind of heart second family. Like just Jared and I's wiring is like, what's the task? Did we get it done? Did we achieve? What's your grade? Did we get there on time? Did you win the award? Very task, like performance oriented, and just like sitting in your emotions and letting things be bad and not having to look at the bright side. We're not good at that. And I feel like I have to really practice that in front of my kids. I have to really practice sharing my failures at the same sort of speed that I, share what is good that happened. And so I think that's, while it's not emotional regulation in the sense of we're not fighting and killing, at each other's throats, but I do think I can sense it in Ainsley sometimes where I just don't let her just be mad, or I don't just let her be tired and just let it be. Like, you don't have to make it better. I'm like, okay, well, you just seem kind of mopey. Yeah. It's like, well, just let me be mopey. I'm 13. And I'm like, okay, well, it's just kind of a buzzkill. I'm just like, I can't just let it be. Yeah. And I think I just sometimes need to just let it be. I don't need to take it on. I don't need to fix it. I don't need to make her feel like that's wrong for feeling kind of mopey. And I feel that tug of war in me if I just can't watch the mud puddle. So I don't know. What do you think your kids will say about you? Your family?
When they come out there, who knows? I mean, we still have a long way to go. So I don't know what they'll say.
I think that's going to be one. It was one of the things I had to go to therapy for. So I think I'm very cute.
Yeah. I could see that being very similar for me too. But Bryce is the good balance there. He's like good at the emotions, and I'm more like, well, let's just not have them.
Yeah. Keep moving. That sounds better. Okay, so I'm going to move now into some constructive. How do you support a constructive use of summer for our teenagers? Before I do that, I want to stop and tell you, if you're trying to figure out how to get more time for some of the things that I'm going to talk about you doing with your teenagers or time together as a family, take this summer and outsource your laundry. Stop doing your laundry for 8 weeks and see what happens. See what time you get back. The mess of laundry gets out of your house. And I highly recommend my partner, Poplin. All you do is put your laundry in a trash bag, put it outside your back door, and somebody will come and get it and return it within 24 hours for $1 a pound. So for my family of 6, it's like $35 to $40 a week when we send our laundry out. And with the code Tiffany15, you can get $15 off your first order. So it's like, I don't know, for $30, you can experience getting a week's worth of laundry done. How incredible.
Yeah.
The only gift I know how to give you.
They fold it so well too. Their little folder's so good.
So good at folding. Just try it. Poplin, use the code Tiffany15, and links are in show notes. Okay, so we're going to talk about 4 different things to do with your teenagers to support a constructive use of summer. The first one is to co-create a summer plan. If you've listened to other episodes, you've heard me talk about setting priorities. This is certainly setting priorities is a big piece of that, but this is about mapping goals and expectations together so that everybody knows what does good look like. Not just what do I want of you as a parent for this summer? What does the teenager want out of the summer? And also, we have these things where we look at them as like, you've been on that phone a long time. How long is too long? Like these things that are very implicitly defined inside of our homes and between our relationships, we need to sit down and make them really explicit. So that's what this is about, co-creating the summer plan. So there's 5 or 6 different pieces to it. One, just looking at what are their personal goals or personal priorities. I use the word priorities a lot. So where do they want to volunteer? What do they want to read? Who do they want to see? Where do they want to go? What camps do they want to attend? How is summer a part of kind of like intellectual curiosity for them? A chance to kind of do some different patterns of behavior and like exploration, go to a park. I don't know what they want to do, but like asking them, what do you want to do? And I think this exercise of teaching teenagers, you can define a goal, spend 8 weeks doing some things, and at the end actually have done the thing, is part of developing that executive function of them learning how to achieve something that they don't have and plan well and to have clearly defined priorities. So that's one. What are their priorities? And I really recommend giving a 2 to 3 day heads up on this, because teenagers, if you just like land blast them, can struggle. Or do it on a walk with them. For my girls, that really works. It's like a place of opening up. It takes maybe like an hour and 10 minutes to do our loop. And so the first 20 minutes might just be talking about friends. And then, hey, what are some things that you'd love to do this summer? When I had this conversation with Ainsley, one of hers was she wanted to learn how to grill, which was super fun. And I never would have thought of that for her. But she's like, I just want to be able to have my friends over and like grill out some burgers and brats. I was like, well, that's adorable. You're in 8th grade. But now I know to support that for her. And that will be super fun to help her learn how to do that. So that's one. What are their personal goals? Also then looking at the calendar with them, like literally printing out the 2 to 3 months that are summer and laying on there with them. What weeks are you at camp? What weeks is maybe another sibling gone? If you're traveling as a parent for work or for pleasure, them kind of seeing the map of the summer and then saying, of the social things you want to do or the places you want to go, how do we get that scheduled now? So if you want to have a birthday party, if you want to have a summer party, if you want to get 4 friends and go to the pool, if you like, let's go ahead and figure out the 3 to 4 days that could happen so that we're not waking up one morning and saying, holy crap, we have an open day. I wonder what we're going to do. Those days, at least in our house, don't tend to be very constructive. Or what's a day where you just want to do nothing? Let's go ahead and decide that as well. So looking at the calendar and figuring out social time, camp time, if they have a job, what day, how many days they're working, and getting clarity on that so that they can see, again, executive function development. They can really see, where am I committed? Where do I have free time? And how do I make thoughtful choice in the context of my priorities and goals? And put those things on the calendar.
Right. And prioritize. Like someone like Ainsley, I could see her having like 300 things she wants to do this summer. So then it's like, you actually don't have space for 300 things this summer. Like, which ones are top for you?
Totally. And you might have like a not now list or like, hey, this is kind of a bonus list. The other thing to talk about is screen time limits. So if this is a point of contention in your family, is to work with your teenager and say, like, what is a reasonable expectation for us to have of how much time you're going to be on your phone? And even you, like, how much time do you want to be on your phone? Because I don't know, maybe I just don't know these kids, or maybe my kids are like this and I just don't know. But I don't actually think kids want to be on their phone 8 hours a day.
I think you have no idea how much time you're on your phone.
Yes, I think
it's wild.
It becomes this vacuum suck completely. And I also believe, and again, I could be proven wrong on this. This is just my own lived experience. It's not studied experience. But when kids are given an exciting alternative for their time other than their phone, that they would rather do that. And so how do you work with them to say, if these are the things you love, these are the things you want to learn, these are the things you want to do, how do we be thoughtful about that? So again, create an agreement with them. How are we going to measure this? Are we going to set some time limits on some of the apps that you have so that you have awareness for it? What happens if you don't keep those agreements that we have in place? Should I take your phone? Should I be mad? Should I just let you do it? Like, again, this is about saying, I want to foster independence in you. I want you to make these choices, and I want to be here to help keep you accountable to the person you want to become. So what does that mean? And where do I have permission? So now you are the parent, and it's not like I ask my kids for permission to parent them. That is my job, to parent them. And if they say, no, I don't have permission, I get to override that. But there's something so interesting about a teenager when you ask for their participation in the boundary setting, and you ask for their participation in the consequence creation, that they start to understand that feels fair. And if I didn't do what I said I was going to do, it makes sense that you enforce the consequence. And going back to this idea of fostering independence and fostering executive function, this is actually like real life stuff. When you're in a job, when you're in a college setting, when you're out on your own, when you're parenting, when you're doing, like, this is how life works. You have explicit agreements of what's going to happen when you don't hold up your end of the bargain. Either life naturally brings consequences, or there are created consequences, like the one we've agreed on, like you're not going to have your phone for a week or whatever it is. So that has been a huge unlock, because teenagers, when they feel like it's fair, they might stomp off, but they respect it so much versus it feeling random. Like, it feels like you've been on the phone, that phone a lot this summer. I'm taking it for a week. Or they're like, oh my word, this came out of the blue. Like, what are you talking about? Why all of a sudden, like in this minute, you're freaking out? I didn't know that minute was the minute that you were going to get so mad. And it becomes this weird thing. And sometimes it can be our reactions can be based on our own emotions or exhaustion, instead of like, no, this is what we agreed to. I'm going to give you the space. So very big deal. Another place to plan is just like, what is the rest and room for creativity that they want? again, if you guys decide 2 mornings a week, your teenager is going to get to sleep in until whenever they want to, well, then 2 mornings a week, they get to sleep in whenever they want to. And if it's like, oh my word, it is 12:15 and they're still not awake, it's like, well, that's part of what you agreed to. That teenager wants rest. That's part of the way how they want to experience their summer. You don't need them for anything else. So again, might not be what you pick for your time or what you pick for your teenager, but that can work. And then the last is thinking through, what do you want your teenager to learn or put energy towards in the coming summer? So the teenager obviously has priorities for themselves, but what are the things that you want to insert into their world? So for our 16-year-old, she started driving. We have her on an allowance that works kind of like as if she was on a salary. She gets paid every 2 weeks. And I want her to learn how to reconcile her expenses against her budget. So when I grew up, we did all cash budget. When I was 16, I had like little envelopes and it was like, this was for gifts and this is for, well, we live in a digital currency world now. Yeah. Me teaching her how to spend money with like literal dollar hard currency is not the world she's living in. And I'm super aware of that. And so I need to teach her how to create a budget in Excel, how to be able to look at her bank reconciliation her bank statement at the end of the month, and how to categorize those expenses against her budget and figure out, are you spending what you thought? Are you over or under? Is it a one-time thing? And just like her learning how to plan, how to spend, and how to interrogate the difference between the two is a skill that's really important for me that she learned. And so that is something where she wasn't like, I'm so excited to learn how to reconcile my budget this summer. That's a thing that I have on my calendar that we'll work on together because I really want her to learn that. So that is an example of where do you want to teach and pour into your teenagers. Do you want them to learn how to cook something? Do you want them to learn how to do laundry? Do you want them to learn how to iron? Do you want them to learn how to clean out the car, grass. Pressure wash? Yeah, mow the grass, like whatever. So another thing to think about. So that is all in the name of co-creating a summer plan with your teenager. That is their priorities, your priorities for them, an understanding of how they're going to use their time, agreement around how we're going to deal with the technology over the summer. And it's really about moving implicit expectations into very explicit agreements. And things are implied. We're both working on sets of information that have not been communicated that may or may not be close to one another.
Yeah.
And neither one of us has said, I agree to that, versus explicitly each of us publishing what our expectations are, us coming to a place of, yes, I understand yours, you understand mine, and we can agree on this. I know my role in this, you know your role in this, and we know what's going to happen when it doesn't play out. So if you're listening to this and saying like, wow, that sounds like that's going to take a really long time. It really doesn't take a long time. It probably takes an hour and a half. And if you think about all of the micro fights that it removes from your summer, it's like you got a lot of time and energy back. So I want the relationships with my kids to be filled with clarity. And so this exercise, it just does that. It's very helpful. So I have just like 3 little like tactical hacks for teenagers that have helped me. One is my teenagers eat all the time. And suddenly summer they're eating, 5 meals a day at home versus their customary bagel and leaving the house and then lunch at school. So I have had my big kids add things to my weekly grocery order. I'll just have like a big piece of paper on the fridge or a shared note on our phone. And it's just like, what's the thing that they want? What snacks do they want? Do they want to try something new? Did they see an article on Pinterest and they want to make something? I don't care. That's super easy. But that way they know what's in the house to eat and they have some say in what's coming. And it's not this like, hey, what is there to eat? The other thing I love to do is I put this in the little downloadable piece, is have a Post-it note or a whiteboard or something on your fridge that says what there is to eat in this fridge. Because I understand if you open somebody else's fridge and you look in it, like if I came to your house and opened the fridge, I would be like, I don't know, all I see is mustard.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what's in all the containers.
Yeah, and how to put it together.
Yeah. But the kids don't cook the food generally. So me saying like there's taco meat, you can make bowls or tacos. There's shredded chicken, you can put it over pasta with sauce or, over rice. There's, ham in there if you want to make a grilled cheese or grilled ham and cheese. It's like, then they're like, oh, that sounds good. The stuff is in here to make that. like showing them a menu, just like when you go to a restaurant, it's like, oh, this sounds good. I guess I'll do that. This is already made. Or there's a frozen pizza in the freezer, whatever it is. So that has been very helpful. Food, we are a eat to live family. We just are. And so solving for food where it's not a bunch of text messages or there's nothing to eat here, having them contribute weekly to what we're ordering, and then also having a menu visible on the fridge has been very helpful. I also have had an if you're bored list on the fridge. Again, this idea of the executive function not being fully developed. And it's like, I don't know what to do. I'm bored. And it can be things like take a walk, clean out your closet, help someone who needs it, play with your sisters, bake some cookies, find a project that looks fun on Pinterest, make some cards for, there's like a nursing home close to us, call a friend, wash your car, sweep out the garage. Like sometimes they want something physical to do. Sometimes they want something creative to do, but they just literally can't think of anything. And so while they might not end up doing any of the things on the I'm bored list, it gives them some inspiration and kind of starts the process of that executive function being able to be, oh, this kind of sounds fun. I think I'll do this. Last piece of advice is if you are familiar with the life of And, you know I am a big fan of the weekly family meeting. This summer, it is just as important as the school year. Make it visual. Make sure that the family understands, hey, this is what we did last week. What were the fun things that we did? What do we want to try to recreate in the coming week? And then looking at the next week and making sure all the things are set up. Logistics are set up. Who needs a packed lunch? Who's going to work? Who's having a friend over? Like, is everything structurally set up so that we can have an exciting week ahead? That family meeting is just as critical in the summertime. So I'm feeling 6% self-conscious. It's like, man, this is just a bunch of organizing and strategizing and really formal conversations with your family. And that is true. And that's because I think the clarity of all of this creates the space for summer to be really fun and enjoyable and a time of being together as a family and having friends over. So when this is all set up and I know exactly as a mom what to do and what we're doing and who we're having over and who wants to do what in the time and resources that we have available during the summertime, we get to spend so much energy on having a great time because we're all really clear about what we want going into summer. So if you are wanting to take a look at the other episodes inside of our Working Parent Summer Survival series, we have linked those in show notes for you. And we would love for you to download this guide and help you and your family set up your best summer yet. Thanks for listening to The Life of And. This is your weekly reminder to keep making bold choices, saying clear yeses, and holding space for what matters most. As always, if you like this episode, I'd love for you to drop a review and share it with your friend. It's the fastest way that we can grow the show. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you next time.